In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create this really awesome marker animation inside of Adobe Premiere Pro, but we are going to use Adobe Photoshop to help us as well. Before we jump into this video, I first just want to say this video is sponsored by Motion Elements. So we've just opened up Adobe Photoshop, and to begin with, we just want to create a new file, and we want to make sure that we create a new document that is the same size as our video. So if we're doing 1920 by 1080 video, then we'll put 1920 by 1080 here. Now I'm going to do a 4K video, so I am going to do 3840 by 2160. I think that's right. Now from here, I'm just going to go over to the left and select the T icon, which is the horizontal type tool. Then I'll tap in the document, and then I'll just type out our letter of choice. So we're going to need to do multiple different versions of this for every single letter. But let's just start with one letter to keep things nice and simple. So let's go for C. Then I'm just going to increase the size of that to really fill up the canvas. So I'm going to make mine about 400, and then I'm going to change it to black. Then I'm just going to place this in the center. I can frame this up a little bit more. And this is just going to be our guide. Now, if you wanted to, you could change the color of this just so it stands out and in the background. And then we just want to lock this off. Now from here, we want to create a brand new layer. So we're going to go layer, new layer, press OK on this. Then we're going to go over to the paintbrush tool on the left of Photoshop. We'll go up to this menu in the top left, increase the size to a bigger number, and go back to the letter just to make sure that the width is roughly about the same. And you're more than welcome to change the brush, but I'm going to keep mine as a hard brush just for this first one. And then I'm going to change the color of this to black. Press OK, and then I'm just going to do my first C. Does it need to be perfect? But have a few attempts at this until you're happy with the look of it. So I think that's fine. Let's just turn off the reference. This is our first layer. Totally fine. So from here, I'm just going to turn that off. Then I'm going to create a brand new layer again. Layer, new layer. We'll go back to the brush, and this time I'm going to change the brush. So I'm going to go into this window, and I'm going to select one of these presets. So let's go for Kyle's Concept Brushes Foliage Mix 2. You can see that looks a lot different. So I'm just going to increase the size of that. Let's go for 500 and make that C. Turn off the guide again. That's fine. That will do. So we'll turn that off. We'll go and create another layer, layer, new layer. So I'm just going to go back into the brush, which is here. And I'm just going to change the preset to something a bit more like a paintbrush or a pencil. Let's go for real oils. Let's see how that looks. So we're going to turn the guide back on, and on layer 3, just paint that out. So that's fine, but it's very small. So we just need to increase the size of this. That's way too large. There we go. That should do. And just do that until you're happy. Now, as you can see, I'm doing this with a mouse. If you had a drawing pad, or if you had an iPad and you had an Apple Pencil or something similar, then you could do this by hand, and you may end up with a much more organic look. It is a little bit difficult to get that handwritten effect when you're trying to do it on a computer mouse or a touchpad. So by all means, feel free to use a drawing pad or your iPad to do this instead. So let me just review. This is layer 1, this is layer 2, and this is layer 3. So these are our 3 different layers. So from here, just going to turn everything on except for the reference layer. I'm just going to get rid of that. And now from here, we'll go File, Save As, and we are going to save this as a Photoshop document. So save this on computer. So this is the menu that we end up with, and you can change this. Let's just call this C. Format we'll keep as Photoshop, and we'll press Save. Then we'll press OK. Now, if you wanted to, you could go back and make your other letters now. So I can bring back the template. I'll turn off these 3 layers. We'll change this to an A, for example, place that in the middle, and then just repeat that whole process again, and then save that as a new Photoshop document or a new Photoshop layer. And I know this is a long process. This is going to take a long time to set up, but the beauty of doing this is once you have created all of these assets and exported the videos, you can use these as presets, and it's a make it once, use it forever sort of situation. So it is going to take you a while to work your way through the alphabet, but it will be worth it, I do promise. Before we carry on with the video and we jump into Premiere, I first just want to take a very quick second to talk about Motion Elements. Motion Elements is an online library for Premiere Pro, After Effects, Final Cut, loads of different templates. You've also got stock videos, graphics, audio files, and so much more. And the great thing is I have partnered up with Motion Elements. They have become my channel sponsor, and as a special thank you to you, they are giving you a 70% off your first month. So you've got access to unlimited downloads, you've got creative use over those however you want them, and you can use them forever. So back to the video. And rather than dragging in the Photoshop document, I'm going to go into the media browser and find it there. And there it is. So I'm just going to right click on that and select import. And this menu pops up, and this is why it's really important to go through the media browser as opposed to just dragging and dropping. Because if you drag and drop, it may just merge all the layers. But if we select that and go to individual layers, press OK, you can see this has now created a new bin or a new folder for us. So if you go in there, you can see all of these are on different layers. So I'm just going to drag the background in on one. Hopefully you should have a new sequence created already. So this is our white background. And then you can see we've got layers 1, 2, and 3. Now, of course, these are 5 seconds at the moment, which isn't the effect that we want. So we're going to trim these down to 1 or 2 frames. Let's start with 2. So go to the beginning, go 2 frames to the right, press C on your keyboard to load the eraser tool, or just select that icon, make a cut there, and delete the rest of that. Then we'll bring the second one over 2 frames to the right, make a cut, and then bring the last one over 2 frames again. So you can see the first C is 2 frames long, the second C is 2 frames long, and the third C is 2 frames long. So this is what we end up with. So to repeat that, I'm just going to lock the background. Then I'm going to highlight all of those. We'll go Command C on the keyboard to copy. That is on Mac. On Windows, it is Control and C. Then we'll just move over to the last point, so 6 frames in. And we'll go Command or Control and V. And we'll paste that in a couple of times. And you can see this is what we have. Now, if this is way too fast for you, if you're not a fan of how this looks, not a problem. We'll delete all those copies. And we're just going to go back in and extend these layers. So we'll move 2 and 3 over. Now, layer 1, we're going to make that 4 frames instead. Then we're going to go another 4 frames to the right. And this will be the end point for 2, and then another 4. And this will be the end point for 3. So we end up with this. So if I just highlight all of those again, copy and paste the multiple versions in, now we play this back, this is what we have. So what I would recommend doing at this point is just highlighting all of those layers, right-clicking, select Nest, and we'll call this C. So all of those still images are now in their own nested sequence, and this means we can now treat this as a video. So if we go into Motion and Scale, we can pull the scale down, we can move this around, we can place this where this needs to be. And once we've stacked multiple different letters on top of each other, we can just move these all into a row. Hopefully you've got different letters and you're not being lazy like I'm being. But you can stack these all in next to each other like this. And when we play this back, you end up with something along those lines. And once you're happy with the way that looks, you can highlight all of those and put those into another nested sequence. So essentially what we're doing, we're taking the individual images, nesting them together to create a letter. And then we're putting the letters together, nesting those to create a word. So this would be our first word. And this means we can now animate this word and move this word around independent to the other words. It is going to take you a little bit of time to set this up. But like I said before, once you've got all of the letters animated and imported into Premiere, you can export these or even save these as a preset, and you can keep these for every single project moving forward. So this is how you would create this marker animation inside of Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere Pro. It's pretty quick, pretty simple. It just takes a little bit of time to get it set up.